It's already past 12, so good afternoon. My name is Claudia Pepperl. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Adafix, and we do Yellix. Has anyone ever heard about this? Yes, you have? Wow, I'm surprised. You're not officially yet in the UK, so that's pretty good. Before I start, 2 questions to the audience. Has it ever happened to you that you got a call from an unknown number? Can you raise your hands? Fantastic. And has it ever happened to anyone that you say called a taxi or any other business and they didn't answer? Does that happen? Okay, good. So the perfect audience for me then. If I manage to get this working. How do you get that? Doesn't go down. So anyway, presentation is frozen, never mind. A little bit about us, what we do. Okay, so what we do as a company is something pretty new, a little bit disruptive, I would like to say. We add content to calls in real time. And content could be anything from local content to social content, and it happens automatically. And I'll show you in a minute what that actually means. We've launched our flagship service Yellix in March this year, so we're a startup company. And we've got users now in over 100 different countries worldwide. Privately funded, we have won an award by T-Mobile for the best Android application, so we're actually progressing quite fine. Now, do you know how many phone calls you make every single day? Well, we figure it's about people making 6 calls going out and receiving 6 calls. This is about the industry average. So when we started thinking about Yellix, we thought like, okay, how can we tap into this massive amount of existing traffic which is out there? Calls are being made, people make phone calls. Whether there is a financial crisis or not, it doesn't change, right? So this is a given. And if you think about the worldwide population and amount of people who have mobile phones, it's more than 4 billion now, I guess. You know, there's an amount of approximately 48 billion calls every day being made, people receiving them and making them. And if you add that up to a year, I can't even pronounce the figure. So, so we think that's a big potential, and if we somehow manage to tap into that traffic and add content to these calls and do it in an automated way, there might be some business opportunity. So this is, I'm just going to walk you quickly through the features of Yellix. The first one is basically a caller ID and missed call information service. So what happens actually is when you get a call from an unknown number, which means you don't have that number in your contacts, then you just see the number but you don't know who it is. So people tend not to answer these calls. What happens with Yellix, which is a small application sitting on your phone, is we see this number is unknown to you, then we do a live lookup towards a directory. If we find a name for that phone number, we actually show you the name. So in this case, it's a guy called Max Muster calling from London, and it's been found in the yellow directory. This happens as the phone rings, so very fast. That's why I'm saying it's real time. If you miss a call from an unknown number, the pop-up stays there, and when you look on the phone again, you can see it, and you can actually save the number to contacts or call back. So this is quite heavily used by people. It's a convenient thing. And you as a user don't have to do anything. The application runs automatically in the background. The second feature is what some people like to call the Google for calls, which is basically very simple. You ring a taxi, they don't answer, you hang up. So what you usually do, like you call again or you find another taxi number. So we give you a shortcut. We see you did not get through to that company, and we automatically give you information saying, hey, you can call that same taxi company again, or here's 3 other taxi companies in the proximity. So you just scroll down, click to call. Very simple. Can also look at details or save it to contacts, but it's really about lead generation, what we're doing here. The next one, before I move to the next one, can we play that video, please? So that was the local aspect, where we actually take local content, mainly from Yellow Pages or like Yellow Page type companies, and add that in. And I'm coming to the more social aspect of adding social content to calls. Do we need to put that?
This is John. John has many friends. They use Facebook to stay in touch. Since John is not in front of his computer all the time, he uses Yellix on his cell phone, because Yellix lets him see his Facebook friend status and profile pictures when they call.
Hi, Anne. Guess what? I'm going to uni too. Want to meet up for a coffee?
Yeah, great. I'll see you there.
Know what people are up to. Take your friends with you wherever you go. Yellix.
Thank you. So basically, what we're doing here is we do a live search towards the Facebook API to see what kind of content we can fetch there. People usually update their status quite often. I mean, not everyone every day, but many people do it even on an hourly basis. So in a way, this is a caller ID service, or a service that turns Facebook into caller ID content. And you can see that here. So you have the you get the current photo and you get the really up-to-date status. It's not syncing in the background and then showing you maybe a status from 2 hours ago. It's the live status. And there is also a little application around this on Facebook itself where you can actually see your top calling friends. So you have something like a call log, which shows you who called you when. And you can have a ranking where you see who called you most often. So it's sort of a social component around that. And basically, we combine that functionality and the other functionalities that I showed you in one single application. Now, talking about handsets and operating systems, what Greg addressed before. If you are a brand and if you have an application, the most important thing is that you are out on any platform that is there, because you want to have as many users as possible. So we basically launched on the Symbian platform, and then we rolled out to all the other platforms, including BlackBerry, Android, Windows Mobile. We just launched a browser version, and we're going to have something on iPhone. Now, talking about apps, with what we are doing, this is actually accessing the phone on a very deep level. So some operating systems cannot support this, unfortunately. And one of them is, you won't believe it, the iPhone. They won't have you run an application in the background, not if you're a third party. There's some loopholes now, but anyway. The second thing is they won't allow you to access the phone number or the call. So, you know, we're waiting for the day for them to open that up so we can provide the application. Another interesting aspect that Greg mentioned was that you remember that curve? People download the app, and after 3 months, it's basically dead. So 90% of apps are usually not used anymore. Now, ours is very different because our application you download once, and then it runs there eternally in the background until you die or until your phone dies. So it's basically not something where the user has to actively click on it and do something, but it's running in the background, basically waiting for a call to come in or go out and see if it can attach additional content to that call. So that is a very different proposition, and from a user perspective, it's also quite neat because, you know, it's just there when you need the content. You don't have to be active. You can react to it, but you don't need to actually actively do something around it. Talking about operating systems, I also looked at some stats from AdMob, and you see Symbian is still the leading one, but then BlackBerry RIM is quite big in terms of market share, the iPhone with 15%, Windows Mobile 9%, and Android only just 2%. That was in Q2 '09. So that's sort of what they see. What we see is a little bit different. So Nokia is down to 47%. Android is massively up, gaining market share, 33%. Windows Mobile is around 7 to 9%. BlackBerry is not that high either, and we haven't launched the iPhone app yet, so that's not on there. But I think Android is going to be the platform of the future, next to the other big ones, but I think that's what we see pretty much in our data.